Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. As you all know, there are lots of things going on in the world right now. There's a global pandemic, minorities are still fighting to stay alive. I heard that college students are going to be deported, like if their classes are online. And there's a presidential election going on right now, which is somehow like the least talked about current event right now. But there's one issue that really needs to be addressed right now, and that is your sex life. My main concern right now is what other people are doing in the bedroom. Gotta make sure you disgusting sinners aren't doing the devil's disco right now. And here we have one of our lovely ladies from Girl Defined, Kristen, to shame you all into abstinence. Because you know, abstinence education is just wonderful. Always works. So let's just see what advice she has for us holy gals. Not men, just women. It's the woman's job to keep the men pure by dressing modestly. It's almost as if a lot of deeply conservative Christian values are just there to prevent men from being held accountable for all their thoughts and actions. Just a theory, I don't know.
I think as Christian girls, as Christian women, one of the most discouraging areas of our lives can often be in the area of sexual temptation, of fighting for purity, of seeking to honor God from the inside out with our sexuality and our failure, our shame, the way we sin, the way we struggle, the way we get back up. I mean, that whole process can be so discouraging.
That is definitely true. It was very discouraging growing up being told that if I had sex before marriage, I was impure. I would lose my purity and somehow a piece of my very soul would be taken away and would be left with that person forever. I know that many of these people don't mean to say that if you have sex before marriage that you are automatically broken and dirty. That's not what they mean to say, but it comes off that way. When you call your virginity your purity and preach the idea of being pure until marriage, gives the idea that if you don't, you're automatically impure. It puts you in a constant shame cycle for things that people can't even prove are wrong. So yeah, it is discouraging, but probably not for the same reason she thinks so.
Goes right along with what we're talking about today. Battling Sexual Temptation, a biblical toolkit for Christian girls.
Okay, so she was talking about how every month is a way to thank their Patreons. They put out a new product to give them for free, and this time it was a book. Now, I thought that the thing she's holding up right now was the actual book, you'd get an actual hardcover copy of that. I thought that was hilarious because I was just imagining someone in a waiting room or in a public place reading this giant book called Battling Sexual Temptation. Just casually reading that on a park bench or something. I don't know, I just thought that was hilarious.
Okay, so let's talk about battling sexual temptation. And y'all know we are a Christian channel. I am coming at this topic from a biblical worldview. I am looking to God's word to give us answers and help and hope as we seek to honor God with our lives as Christian girls and women. I'm looking to his word. That is the foundation for our conversation today. So I'm actually going to be talking to you guys from chapter 9 of Sex, Purity, and the Longings of a Girl's Heart, Battling Temptation.
I didn't understand that. She said she was going to be looking to at the Bible and God's word for guidance and stuff. But then she pulled out her own book and used that instead. I mean, I get that the Bible is pretty hard to read and all, but it's kind of weird that she said that she looks to God's word. She reads the Bible and has a biblical standpoint on purity, but now she's using her book to explain it to us. I don't know, I just thought that was a bit strange.
There's a lot of misconceptions. I have heard Christians talk about temptation as if it's a sin. So if you're experiencing sexual temptation, don't believe the lie that you're already sinning, because every single one of us, every Christian, I don't care if you're the most mature Christian, pastor for 50 years, temptation is not a sin. It's how we respond to that temptation that will determine whether or not we sinned.
Oh, so I can feel temptation, and as long as I'm not acting on it, then I'm not sinning. Yeah, I'm going to hell.
5, we have a real enemy seeking to steal, kill, and destroy us. Satan. His goal is to draw us into sin and away from God. He is the great tempter, the great deceiver from the beginning of time with Eve. Even now, he is still tempting us to stray from God's design.
That's right, guys. Satan wants
to kill, crush, and destroy you
by tempting you with boobs. The ultimate weapon of destruction. Hey, you, demon, come here. I got a great idea about how to lead those nasty Christians into sin. Ooh, how? Are you going to cast greed into their hearts and make them thieves? Will you turn them away from God and lure them towards you? Oh, I know. Will you make them murder each other and turn into total anarchy? Dude, what? I was going to make them have sex. What? Yeah, I mean, the conservative Christians are always preaching about purity and how you need to wait till marriage. So I figured I would just tempt them sexually and lead them astray. I mean, there's 7 billion people on Earth. I don't think you need to motivate them to have sex. I feel like she's just trying to blame her natural sexual urges on Satan. She doesn't want to admit that it's her. These are her desires and she can't get rid of them, so she just blames them on someone else.
Whoa, he's hot.
Dang it. Not today, Satan.
Lastly, it's possible to resist temptation. Christ lived on this earth, was tempted, and never sinned. As Christians, we have the ability through Christ's power to do as he did. We have the victory through Christ.
She then tries to say that since the devil tempted Eve into taking a bite of that apple on the tree, that he will tempt you into sin as well. Saying something that I've always heard growing up. That the devil will make you question your values and, doubt what you've been taught. And the more I think about it, the more I realize how messed up it is to tell someone that they're not allowed to question the things that you tell them, or else they're being led astray and brainwashed. To expect them to blindly believe everything you tell them and that questioning is a sin. Sounds kind of culty, What's wrong with questioning what you've been taught? What's wrong with saying, hey, why is this bad? Or why is this harmful? Or why can't I do this? It's like when you're arguing with your parents and you make a valid point that they can't refute, so they just tell you to stop arguing with them or to stop being disrespectful. They're saying it because they realize that you're right and they don't know what else to say, so they just return to having authority over you and tell you not to question them. Instead of getting angry with people when they question your teachings, just make sure your values are backed up by logic and reason. Trust me, people will feel more confident in you and they will have better reason to trust you if you give them reasons why you're right. Isn't this basic common sense? I don't see why questioning would be a sin.
Guys, about that sexual scene that you saw in that movie or whatever, that's how the enemy works. So he engaged in conversation with Eve, tempted her and said, did God really say? And what did she do? She listened. She paused. She's like, maybe. And then she pondered. She started to think about this temptation. Yeah, well, maybe it's really not so bad. Maybe I should eat this tree. Maybe God is holding out on me. And then what did she do? She engaged. She partook.
Wait, so this is when you're watching a movie with your parents and a sex scene comes on? You know how terribly awkward that is? Except you're not with your parents this time. You're alone. Constantly feeling that awkward tension whenever you encounter something remotely sexual in your life. That would suck. It's like these people have never escaped their adolescence. They're just constantly feeling awkward and uncomfortable about their sexuality.
When it comes to sexual sin, step one, the temptation enters our mind, or we're presented with something. We see something online, we're watching a movie and the scene starts to get real sexual and we're thinking, oh, probably shouldn't watch this. Temptation, we're presented with it. The first step toward going down that slippery slope towards sin is that we listen.
Why do they act as if your sexuality is like a battlefield where you have to fight to the death to save your virginity from Satan? These are just your natural urges. Satan didn't add an extra sex scene in a movie somehow just to make you horny. You're just naturally aroused by some things. What I don't understand is how they say that these sexual urges and stuff are the devil trying to tempt you into sin. Asexual people exist. People who don't feel those urges or want to be intimate with someone else. It isn't because Satan decided to spare them from this temptation. It's just the way their body works. Everyone is different. Just accept that these are your urges, and if you aren't hurting anybody else in the process, then do what you want with them. I don't see why it has to be this dramatic.
When we are sliding towards sexual sin, which takes us to the third step, and that is that we accept that temptation. We make the choice after we listen, we ponder, we kind of, we reason with ourselves for why this really isn't so bad, or why just this once won't hurt, or, God will forgive me, whatever we say in our minds. We listen, we ponder, and then we accept. We take the bait from our flesh, from the enemy. We take that temptation, we accept it, thinking that this is going to be a good solution, right? That, once I'm on the other side of this, I'll deal with it. But right now, this is what I want so bad. And the result, after we take that final step to accept that temptation, the result is sin.
Good job, Michaela. You saw a sex scene in one of those dirty movies that you watch, you were tempted, and now you sinned. Way to go. Now look what happened. Nothing. Literally nothing. But now you probably feel guilty. And you don't feel guilty because I've been telling you this is disgusting and shameful your entire life, but because a piece of your soul has been chipped away. Wait, is that only when you're intimate with someone else, or is it just in general? Because I think the idea is that when you're intimate with someone else before marriage, they take that piece of your soul, you just transport that out of your body or something, and they have it for the rest of your life, right? I don't know. Either way, you done messed up, Michaela.
Sexual sin. I really want to encourage you to stop. Maybe even think about the last time that you failed sexually.
Well, gee, Kristen, that's a bit of a personal question.
What happened? What did that process look like for you? And I guarantee if you really analyze it, you will see that when that temptation presented itself, you listened, you pondered, you accepted, and then you sinned.
Does boredom count as a temptation?
I hope that this equips you to recognize step one is listening. So here's my encouragement for you. And here is what we wrote in Sex, Purity, Longings. When that temptation presents itself, and here's just some examples of different types of sexual temptation that I know many, many young Christian women are facing. So let's say you're tempted to send a guy nude photos, right? He's like, send me some photos. What could you do instead of pondering, listening, thinking about it instantly? Delete his message, call a godly woman for help. Say, no, I'm not doing that. In fact, I'm going to call a godly friend, godly woman, and say, like, hey, this just happened. Can you pray for me?
Okay, I agree that sending nude photos isn't always a great decision. I personally wouldn't do it. You know, they could get leaked potentially. Someone else could see them. You can't always trust the person you're sending them to. And I just wouldn't feel comfortable doing that. I think that if you're like underage or whatever, and somebody is harassing you for nude photos, you should definitely tell a trusted adult. And don't send nudes if you're underage. That's child pornography and you can get in trouble for that. Don't do it. But why would you ask someone to pray for you about this? That just seems like it would be a weird interaction. Hey Isabel, can I talk to you for a second? Yeah, sure, hon, what's up? Well, you're a really godly woman, so I thought I would talk to you about this. Of course. So, my boyfriend has been asking me to send him pictures of my boobs. Oh. And, like, I'm kind of tempted, because, like, it could be fun, you know? Like, I'm kind of tempted to just get some, like, Victoria's Secret lingerie and just, like, take some pics, you know? But I know that God wouldn't like that. Anyways, could you, like, pray for me about this? You know, maybe remind me of how disgusting and impure that would make me. Or send me, like, a gif of fire, like, every day, just to remind me of where that lifestyle will lead me to. I mean, I guess. Thanks, you're the best. What? She then talks about how we need to run from our temptations instead of, like, indulging in them. And I think she just has a very unhealthy relationship with her sexuality. She's in a mindset that almost seems, like, adolescent. Like, she still views sex as, like, gross and dirty and something that we can't talk about. You can't just tell people to shun themselves from anything remotely sexual. Just be an adult about it and have mature conversations. If you refuse to expose yourself to anything of that nature, you'll have to hide from a lot. You'll have to resort to watching only Full House and reading Magic Treehouse books. Full House is pretty great though, not dissing it. Anyways, that's all we're going to be reacting to today. I don't think that Kristen and Bethany are bad people by any means. They seem like nice people and they want to help people. I can tell that they genuinely think that they're doing something good and that they're reaching out to a community and, you know, being a light in the darkness. They've got the spirit, just in the wrong direction. Did that make any sense? I don't think that made sense. They're good people who were taught some really crappy things, and now, unfortunately, they're spreading it on the internet. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you have any suggestions for a future video, please make sure to comment them down below, and I will try to do them. And I will see you guys next time. Stay safe and pure, y'all!